The air alongside the great rivers of Riau, Indonesia, cools quickly after sunset. Elevated above the damp earth in a traditional wooden stilt house, the rush of the river provides a natural lullaby. Inside, a grandmother named Wan Tima sits quietly, weaving thick pandan mats by the dim light. Beside her, tucked in and fighting sleep, is her grandson, Along. Tonight, Along has a specific request. He wants the truth about a massive boulder upriver, one the locals claim can open and close exactly like a giant mouth. Wan Tima sets her weaving aside. To understand the stone, she says, they must look back to a time long before he was born. In a worn-down hut near that same river bend lived a widow and her 2 children. Keeping them fed required a grueling, exhausting daily routine. From sunrise to sunset, she scoured the forest for heavy firewood and waded deep into the frigid river currents, throwing the heavy net over and over until her tired arms burned. That her children were blind to the cost of their survival. They had grown demanding and petulant, treating her effort as a given. With every meager catch, they whined about the portions. They ignored her dark circles and her blistered, ruined hands. The physical exhaustion was severe, but the constant, hollow silence where gratitude should have been was what truly wore her down. Eventually, the weight of those daily complaints became too heavy to carry. It happened after a particularly brutal day of foraging where she found almost nothing. All she could scrape together from the dry earth were a few small, fibrous yams. When she served them, the children threw a violent tantrum. They pushed their bowls away in disgust, berating her for failing to provide a proper meal. Looking at their angry faces, the mother realized that her children held no empathy for her suffering. In that moment, her spirit finally surrendered. Tears streaming down her face, she walked out of the hut and disappeared deep into the damp forest. She headed straight toward a towering formation on the edge of the woods, Batu Belah Batu Betangkup. Standing before the sheer rock face, she begged the stone to end her misery. She asked it to swallow her whole, simply because she could no longer endure a life where she felt so invisible. The earth vibrated. With a deafening rumble, the solid boulder groaned and slowly split right down the middle, revealing a pitch-black void. Without hesitation, the exhausted mother stepped forward into the darkness. But she wasn't alone. Driven by curiosity, her children had followed her and were now watching from the tree line in absolute shock. The giant stone snapped shut with a heavy thud, sealing their mother inside. The children were left standing in a suddenly terrifyingly silent forest. They sprinted from the trees, screaming for her. They threw themselves against the rock, beating their small fists against the rough surface until raw. Through hysterical sobs, they begged the stone to open, shouting apologies for every meal they had rejected and every word they had used to hurt her. They swore to the silent rock that they would never complain again, that they would spend the rest of their lives making up for what they had done. Deep within the mountain, the vibrations began again. The stone, which had stood unmoved by their tantrums for years, finally groaned in response to their grief. The grinding sound returned. Slowly, the 2 halves of the boulder parted once more. Their mother stepped back into the daylight, pale and weak. The children immediately rushed forward, clinging to her with a desperation they had never shown before. From that day forward, the work of the household was shared. The children took up the heavy firewood and handled the nets, ensuring their mother was the first to sit and the first to be served. In the years that followed, her hands were no longer the only ones stained by the river's silt. Each shared meal became a quiet acknowledgement of the effort it took to bring it to the table. Back in the wooden stilt house, the air is quiet. Along stares up at the ceiling, thinking deeply about the stone. He asks his grandmother what the story is really trying to tell them. Wan Tima smiles gently. She tells him that gratitude is the only thing that keeps a home from feeling like a prison, and that we must honor the people who work to keep us whole. Letting out a long yawn, a long nods, he promises that tomorrow he'll be the one to help her with the pandan leaves. And as for you, take a moment to thank the people who look out for you. Rest well, and may your dreams be as calm as the river.